how to prepare the applique circles. All right, so now it's time to do the applique. And don't fear applique. I have a great method that I like. It uses freezer paper and starch to prepare the shapes, and then you just simply sew it down with invisible thread. It just couldn't, and a zigzag. Everybody has a zigzag stitch. So it really, truly is that simple. So you do not have to be afraid of applique if you've never done it before. If you have done applique before, this is just one method that I like. There are a million ways to applique, so do what you like. All right, to get started, we need a few supplies. First of all, you need some just regular common freezer paper. You don't have to go crazy with expensive freezer paper. Just what you get at the grocery store is fine. You need some starch, either spray starch in a can, or I prefer this Stay Flow or some other kind of liquid starch concentrate. I can mix my own, and it's a lot cheaper. All right, and because I'm going to mix my own, I have some water. I have a cup and a small paintbrush, my hot iron, my fabric scissors and my paper scissors, a pencil, my fabric, and of course a way to make the circles. So in the book on page 13 are the 1-inch, 2-inch, and 3-inch templates that you are welcome to use. I like to trace around something to get that first circle as perfect as I can. I like this Creative Grids whole thing. Or if you want to, if you don't have any of that, you can walk around your house and find something that's 3 inches, something that's 2 inches, and something that's 1 inch around, and or close, and use that. All right, so let's clear off our workspace. And first thing, before we even, did I show you these cute little shapes? This is what we're making. These are the 3-inch ones, and there's a 2-inch, and here's the little baby 1-inch. Okay, so first off, we need to mix our starch. If you're going this route, you don't need it. I like to mix it because you don't need it full strength. That's just overkill. So I just eyeball. I put in, I don't know, 1/4 cup, whatever. And then I like to do about equal parts water. And then I just stir it up, and there we have our starch ready to go. If you're using a spray can starch, just take the lid off and squirt into the lid and use your paintbrush in there. That's very simple to do that. Okay, so now let's make the circles. All right, first off, you need 3 sheets of your freezer paper. And this is going to sound funny, but you need to pre-shrink this freezer paper before we start working on it. It does shrink up a little bit when the heat hits it, and it just, I don't know, I just do it this way. So you just quick run your iron over it. That's the first one. Take your second one, put it over. You can see these are what, maybe 12-inch sheets that I just cut. No big deal. And then, oops, I'm making a mess. And then here is the last one, and I will try not to flip that out again. All right, there we go. So now, not only are they pre-shrunk, they are fused together. I did them all with the shiny side down, and now they are one sheet. Okay, so now we are going to trace our shapes on here. So I make about 4 of each size to start with. For the 3-inch and the 1-inch, that is probably all you're gonna need to make the whole quilt. The 2-inch, there are a lot more of the 2-inch. So those, I do a few more of those. The freezer paper does degrade after a while. So you can get, you can get quite a few out of each one. Let's see, can I get another 3-inch in there? Yeah, look at that, I can do that. and there's another 1 inch. So you will have to replace them after a while, but that's why I like to make a lot, so I don't have to replace them. All right, with paper scissors, now you're gonna cut them out. All right, something else, I do like to put an X or some other kind of mark on here, because once these are cut out, it's really hard to tell the top from the bottom, and you don't want to iron this onto your iron. You want to iron it onto your fabric. Okay, I am going to kind of press that down again, just one last, just to make sure they're good and stuck. All right, now you simply just cut out on the line. And I'm gonna cut one of each at, as I'm actually making the quilt. I do all these, I prepare all these freezer paper shapes at once. And you can see I'm just cutting out on the line. I know we all went to kindergarten, but a helpful hint, when you're cutting it out, you want this shape to be as perfect as you can, because whatever this shape looks like, your fabric circle will look like this too. So if you have a little pokey, you know, if it's not quite smooth, your fabric will look like that as well. So put on your best anal retentive tendencies and cut that out perfect. Sometimes you can look at it on the back and see if you did it perfect, and I can see a little spot right there that needs to be shaved off, and we're good. So there's my 2 inch, there you go. And now I will cut out one of the 1 inch and one of the 3 inch. Okay, as you're cutting, another helpful hint is to make your scissors as wide as possible when you take your cut, and make a large sweeping cut. You don't want to take lots of little snips. That also will give you an edge you don't like, you know, with pointy, jagged edges. And you can see well, let's take that off. I'm opening wide with every cut. And like everything, you get better with practice. So if you don't like your first one, just chuck it and do another one. All right. So there we go. And I can see already I don't like that. So I just square that up, and there is the 3 inch. Now the 1 inch, of course, is going to be the trickiest because it is the smallest. So you've got to just really gear up and concentrate on that. And it is sometimes easier to move the paper rather than your scissors. Leave your scissors steady. I find the smaller the shape, that's to be the case. Okay, now we're making circles today, but this is how I do all my applique, any shape. We have the iron pattern, and we have a rabbit pattern and a squirrel pattern, and this is exactly how I do it for all of them. And I have no problem with it, and it just makes applique so much more enjoyable for me. Okay, so there we have our 3 templates ready to go. All right, so next, the next phase, we're going to press these onto our fabric. Now, as you're using these fabrics, like this one is, I believe, row 7. Don't quote me on that, but it uses all 3 sizes on that one block. So this is all your fabric you've got for that, so conserve it. You know, kind of, I can get a 1 inch right in that. Let me move that up there so you can see it. I can get the 1 inch right in that little spot. So, you know, you don't want to have them spread out too far, because you got to make sure you get all, I guess there would be 8 times 3, because we have 8 each in that particular row. Okay, so you can see that scooched a little because I pressed it too much in a circular motion. So there we go. All right, so they're pressed down. So now I'm switching to my fabric scissors, and we are going to cut these out leaving a 1/4 inch around each one. And we're just eyeballing that. So, and you don't have to be too persnickety about this. Just get it close. And you don't want a lot of jagged edges, but you know, you don't have to be quite as precise on this as you were when you were making the template. Okay, so there I have that one cut out. And here's my little baby 1-incher. And the smaller the shape, the smaller the seam allowance. So I would do a scant 1/4 inch. If you're gonna err, either too big or too small, always err too small. Because sometimes as you start pressing that down, that seam allowance down, if it's too wide, it'll pleat, and you don't want that. Okay, so here's our 2-inch. And I am coming back around to the beginning, and there we go. All right, so we've got all 3 lined up. So now is the fun part where we get to paint. It is just like kindergarten. Okay, I have this spare little wool piece, and I dedicate this to applique. You can see it's been charred with the, you know, applique's past. So I just have it dedicated for applique, and then I don't have to worry about it for anything else. All right, so now this is a particularly fun part of the process, I think. We're gonna start with the 3-inch because it's the largest and the easiest to do. All right, so we are going to, with our pre-mixed starch, we are going to just paint that seam allowance. And just go around. Try not to get on the paper too much because that will degrade your paper even faster if it gets too wet. But it will get wet, but just try not to be so sloppy with it. Okay, so now you need your hot iron. And I like an iron that has a non-stick sole plate. It really helps, and it's easier to clean too because, you know, the starch can get gunky. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna press down that seam allowance, and it's going to just fold right up on the edge of that freezer paper, and it's just gonna nest right on that edge. And you can kind of feel it as you go. So what I do this first time I go around, oh, there's my dog. Hi, Sid. And I just kind of am training it. I'm just getting right up on the edge of that. And I just call it training it because, you know, it doesn't know which way to go until you tell it. And you just keep going around. I do have a little tiny small iron that I sometimes use, but honestly, that thing gets so hot. It's a little scary. But, you know, if you don't want to use your big iron, use a small iron, use a smaller iron. That works too. Okay, so now you can see I've gone around and I'm just continuing to go around. And what is happening here is that starch is drying out, and it's gonna stay when I get it all back around. So I'm gonna keep doing that. Okay, so you can see that it is all around. I've gone all the way around, and it is all snug on the edge, and that seam allowance is all dry, and it's staying in place. And there is our circle. So now if there is a spot like right there, I can see it's poking a little bit. That's so slight, it doesn't bother me. But if it bothers you, now is your time to fix it. All you do to fix those is to go back with your paintbrush and lift that up, paint some more, and repress. Okay, So you're going to continue on with your other shapes, your other sizes. And when you have all of them done, it is ready to come, the freezer paper is ready to come out of there. You take that out and press that seam allowance back down if necessary. And there you go. There is your shape. And it is ready to be sewn on at this point. And there's the back side. All right, look for the next video and we'll talk about how to sew these down.